Arthur Fleck never left the asylum. Doc Brown was planning suicide. And your childhood is built on lies. These theories get darker the deeper you dig. Number 1. The Joker never left Arkham Asylum. Everything that happens in the 2019 Joker film might be taking place entirely inside Arthur Fleck's mind while he's locked in Arkham. The entire rise of the Joker, the subway murders, the talk show appearance, all of it could be an elaborate fantasy he's constructing during therapy sessions. The film already proves Arthur creates false realities when it reveals his entire relationship with Sophie was imaginary. Once you know he fabricates entire story arcs in his head, the door opens for the rest of the film to be equally unreliable. Timeline inconsistencies pop up throughout. Characters behave in ways that feel slightly off from reality, and certain scenes mirror each other with dreamlike repetition. The riots, the revenge fantasy against Murray Franklin, even his mother's backstory could all be Arthur's way of making sense of his trauma. Number 2. The Blair Witch Project traps victims in a time loop. The characters aren't just lost in the woods, they're caught in a supernatural time loop where the rules of reality stop applying. Their map becomes useless, their compass spins wildly, and they keep arriving at the same landmarks despite walking in different directions for hours. Then, there's the abandoned house from the 1940s that burned down decades ago, suddenly standing intact and waiting for them. The 2016 sequel makes the time distortion even more explicit. Characters lose entire days without realizing it. Sunlight vanishes for impossible lengths of time, and they discover footage of events that haven't happened yet from their perspective. Some fans theorize the original footage exists because the witch sent it backward through time, creating a closed loop where the tapes are both evidence and bait. Number 3. Doc Brown was planning to end everything. The Twin Pines Mall experiment wasn't just about testing time travel, it was Doc Brown's final gamble with his own life. Watch the scene again and notice how he positions himself directly in the DeLorean's path, saying all his previous attempts failed. If the car doesn't vanish into the past, it crushes him instantly. That's not a safety oversight from a genius scientist. That's someone who stopped caring about survival. Doc admits he bankrupted his family fortune chasing this obsession. He's been laughed out of every scientific institution, and his reputation is destroyed. The flux capacitor concept literally came from him cracking his skull open in a bathroom accident. His mental state throughout the first film is manic and unstable, swinging between triumph and panic. He even puts his dog inside the car like Einstein's just another variable in an experiment. Number 4. Mary Poppins and Pennywise are the same species. These two magical entities operate on identical rules. They arrive every few decades to feed on human emotions through children. Mary Poppins feeds on joy and happiness, while Pennywise consumes fear and terror. Both target kids specifically manipulate reality effortlessly and somehow convince parents to ignore every warning sign that something is very wrong. They share an obsession with floating, appearing out of nowhere with balloons and impossible physics. Both pull objects from thin air, bend time and space, and use theatrical performances to control their victims. In Poppins' world, Georgie chases a paper toy. In it, Georgie chases a paper boat. The parallels stack up uncomfortably once you start counting them. No creator from either franchise has acknowledged this connection, keeping it firmly in fan theory territory. But the comparison makes disturbing sense when you frame both characters as emotional vampires who need humans the way humans need food. Number 5. Forrest Gump isn't the father. Jenny drops a child on Forrest years after disappearing from his life, claims it's his son, and conveniently dies before any questions can be asked or tests can be run. The timeline doesn't add up cleanly. She never specifies when the child was conceived, and Forrest only learns about him once the boy is already school-aged and Jenny is terminally ill. Throughout the film, Jenny uses Forrest emotionally whenever she needs support, then leaves when something better appears. She vanishes for years at a time, reappears when she's desperate or sick, and her pattern of behavior suggests someone who knows how to survive by any means necessary. Some fans argue she named the boy after Forrest to secure long-term care, knowing he'd raise the child regardless of biological connection. There's no scene showing pregnancy, no doctor's confirmation, no DNA evidence, just Jenny's word and Forrest's immediate emotional acceptance. parents, because that's who he is as a person. The film treats it as a heartwarming moment of connection, but the gaps in the story keep this theory alive. Number 6. Cole's father was already dead in The Sixth Sense. Cole wasn't just seeing random ghosts throughout The Sixth Sense, he was living with one. His father is completely absent from the film, never appears during major emotional moments when a parent should be present, and is barely mentioned by anyone, including Cole's mother. Cole wears his dad's coat and glasses like sacred items, suggesting someone who's gone, but not forgotten in the usual way. The film establishes that ghosts don't realize they're dead and show up around people they have emotional connections to. If Cole's father died and doesn't know it, he might be one of the first spirits Cole ever encountered, making the boy's entire relationship with death more complicated and personal than it appears. One family photograph shows only the parents without Cole, which feels wrong if the father was alive and present. M. Night Shyamalan never confirmed this detail, leaving it as subtext rather than text, but it adds another layer of tragedy to Cole's isolation. He's not just haunted by strangers, he might be watching his own father wander through their home without understanding what happened. The theory transforms Cole's burden from scary to heartbreaking, suggesting his gift started with the worst possible loss. Number 7. Jason and Pluto. Already switched in us. By the time the family reaches the beach house, Adelaide's son Jason has already been replaced by his underground counterpart, Pluto. Fans point to Jason's strange behavior throughout the film, building tunnels, speaking in weird backward phrases, wearing a mask constantly like he's hiding his face. He seems to understand Pluto's actions better than anyone, sharing an eerie connection that feels less like recognition and more like kinship. Jason's obsession with fire, his withdrawn personality, and his unusual language patterns all suggest someone who spent time underground. He controls Pluto's movements during the final confrontation, something a tethered shouldn't be able to do to its double. The mask he wears becomes symbolic of hiding his true identity from the family that doesn't realize he's been replaced. Director Jordan Peele explicitly shut this theory down, explaining that Jason's final look at Adelaide is about intuition, not identity. He's realizing his mother's secret, not revealing his own. The theory falls apart when you consider Jason speaks too fluently and understands surface world concepts too well for someone raised underground. But the intentional ambiguity and paranoia Peele builds into every frame keep the theory circulating anyway.